Hi guys, welcome to our last day of math for the year. I know you're just as sad as I am about it being over. We're going to be doing 12.8 today with units of time, looking at seconds, minutes, hours, weeks, years, and how they all relate to each other. And I don't have my video on because I don't want to let you see my crazy hair just yet. You'll have to wait until our Zoom meeting at 2:20. All right, so on a normal analog clock, that's what they call the normal clocks in our classroom, okay? And some watches are still analog clocks instead of digital. You have a hour hand and a minute hand and then a second hand to measure the time. In this clock, the time is showing 4:30 and 12 seconds. So you read it as 4:30 and 12 seconds or 30 minutes and 12 seconds after 4. Either way of those, excuse me, would be ways of reading that. So your minute hand is the long one, your hour hand is the short black one, and then the second hand is the red one. And you will notice if you stare at a clock, an analog clock like this, the red line moves a lot faster than the other two, because that's our second line. Okay, there are 60 seconds in a minute, so that little red line will go around the whole entire clock, which is 60 little tick marks if you count all those little tiny little marks all the way around. Okay, it will go very quickly through that, and as that goes around one time, the second hand will move over one line at a time. And when the second hand gets all the way back up towards the 12, your hour hand will move over as well. So there are 60 seconds in a minute, and there are 60 minutes in an hour. The clock shows how far the hands move for each length of time. So here's starting at 3 o'clock. Here's after 1 second. You can see the little time is from one little tiny tick to another tick. And the next one is 1 minute or 60 seconds. So after the red second hand has gone around the clock all the way one time, you see that the long black hand has now moved one line over. And in an hour, you see that the clock has gone all the way around, so that it has gone from our hour hand being at the 3 to our hour hand being at the 4. So there are how many minutes in an hour? We read this up above. There are 60 minutes in an hour. Okay, 60 minutes in an hour. And there are how many seconds in a minute? Good. If we look back up again, there are 60 seconds in a minute. That means I would multiply my 60 minutes by my 60 seconds to see how many seconds are in 1 hour. Okay, for this we multiply, we're going to do our 6 times our 6, so 6 times 6 is 36, and then we have 2 zeros in our problem, so we need 2 zeros attached in our answer. So in 1 hour, there are 3,600 seconds. Okay, so 1 hour is 3,600 times bigger than 1 second. Our next example says, Larissa spent 2 hours on her science project. Cliff spent 200 minutes on his science project. Who spent more time? Okay. First step says, make a table that relates hours and minutes. So we know there are 60 minutes in 1 hour. So in 2 hours, we would do 2 times 60, or we could do 60 plus 60. So what would we get if we do 60 times 2? Good. 2 times 6 would be 12, and attach our 0 on the end. Now, what is 3 times 60? Good. 3 times 6 is 18, and add a 0 on, attach a 0 on the end. Okay, we're looking for our 2 hours because that's what we're trying to convert here. Since Cliff is already in minutes, we need to change our hours into minutes. So, step 2 is over here. Let's do step 2 first. So 2 hours is the same as 120 minutes. And then we have 200 minutes. And we need to complete our inequality. Which one is 120 minutes greater than, less than, or equal to 200 minutes? Good, it is less than 200 minutes. So 2 hours is less than 200 minutes. So who spent more time than somebody else on their science project? Who spent more time? Good. Cliff, who had the 200 minutes, spent more time than Larissa. Okay. Our next activity is comparing the length of a week to the length of a day. So it says to use colored pencils, but we're just going to use our normal pencil or writing utensil. So step 1 says, use your pencil to shade 1 week on the number line. So here is 1 week. Step 2 says, use your pencil to shade 1 day on the number line. So here's 1 day. It says compare the size of 1 week to the size of 1 day. So how many days make up 1 whole week? Good. There are 7 days in 1 week, which means that 1 week is 7 times as long as 1 day. Alrighty, our next problem wants us to compare the length of a year to the length of a month using a model. So we're going to shade in 1 year and then 1 month. Okay, so it says 1 year is how many times as long as 1 month? So how many months does it take to make up 1 year? Great, it takes 12 months to make 1 year. So that means that it is 12 times as long as 1 month. Okay, for your next one, number 2, it says 2 minutes are equal to how many seconds? Again, they give you a nice little handy chart up here if you don't remember your conversions. So if we look for minutes and seconds, we know there's 60 seconds in 1 minute. So I should do 2 times 60. So we do 2 times 6 is 12, and attach our 0. So you should have gotten 120 seconds. Okay, our next one says 4 years is equal to how many months? Remember that in 1 year, there are 12 months, so that's what we should be multiplying by. 4 times 12. What is 4 times 12? Good, 48. All right, our next one says 3 minutes is equal to how many seconds? Remember, there are 60 seconds in a minute, so we would do 3 times 60. Wonderful. So we do 3 times 6, which is 18, and attach our 0, so 180. Excuse me. All right, now we have 4 hours and minutes. So if we remember from our chart up here, 1 hour is equal to 60 minutes. So we would do 4 times 60 to get the number of minutes in the 4 hours. What is 4 times 60? Wonderful, 240. We do 4 times 6 is 24 and attach our 0. Okay. Our next one, we are doing our inequalities. So it says 3 years is greater than, less than, or equal to 35 months. So I need to change my years into months. Right here in our diagram and up above, we said that there are 12 months in a year. So we would do 3 times 12 to see how many months are in 3 years. 3 times 12 is good, 36 months. Okay, so is 36 months greater than, less than, or equal to 35? Good, it is greater than. So we want to eat the 36. All right, our next one says 2 days is greater than, equal than, greater than, less than, or equal to 40 hours. We're going from days to hours. We check back up here. There are 24 hours in 1 day. So we need to do 2 times 24. What would 2 times 24 be? Good, 48. 2 times 4 is 8, and 2 times 2 is 4, so 48 hours. So 48 hours is greater than, less than, or equal to 40 hours. Good, greater than. We want to eat the 48. All right, our next problem says Damien has lived in an apartment building for 5 years. Ken has lived there for 250 weeks. Who has lived in the building longer? Explain, make a table to help. So they started you off with a table here. So we're talking about years and we're talking about weeks. So that's why they've set up our table this way. So if we look back in our chart, there are 52 weeks in 1 year. So I'm going to put that at the beginning of my chart. 52 weeks. Now, I'm going to either multiply as I go down my chart 52 by the numbers over here, or you can just keep adding 52 to your number. So we can do 52 plus 52 would be here, then this number plus 52 would be here. Whatever we put here plus 52 would go in our 4th spot, and whatever this is plus 52 would go in our 5th spot. Multiplying to me seems easier, so we're going to do that. So if I do 2 times 52, first I would do 2 times 2 is 4, and then 2 times 5 is 10. So 2 years is the same as 104 weeks. I do the same thing, moving on to my 3. So we do 3 times 2 is 6, and then 3 times 5 is 15. All right, so there are 156 days in 3 years. Again, with our 4, so we do 4 times 2 is 8, and then 4 times 5 is 20. So there are 208 weeks in 4 years. So what do you guys think? We're moving on to our 5th year. So do you think 5 years is going to go over 250 weeks? What do you think? Take a guess. Do you think it's going to be more than 250 or less than 250? All right, let's check and see. So we're going to do 5 times 52. So first we do 5 times 2. I'm actually going to do this one down below, just because there's some regrouping. Okay, so 5 times 2 is 10. And I have 5 times 5 is 25. Plus 1 more makes 26. So if you guessed that it was going to go over, you are correct. So 5 years is 260 weeks, which is more than 250. That means that Damien has lived in the building longer. That's what we should put as our answer. So Damien has lived in the building longer. And I know this because, which is part of our explain, 5 years equals 260 weeks. And I know that 260 is greater than that 250 weeks that Ken had. So that would prove that I did my work and I did not just guess at the answer. All right, our next one says, how many hours are in a week? Explain. How many hours are in 1 week? So we got to break it down a little bit. So from a week, we need to go to days. So how many days are in 1 week? So we're going to start there. In 1 week, there are how many days? In 1 week, there are how many days? If you don't remember, we slide back up to our chart. And it says in 1 week, there are 7 days. Okay, 7 days. Okay, and in a day, how many hours are there? Because we want to get down to hours. So we'll put and in 1 day, there are how many hours? How many hours are in 1 day? Slide back up. Okay, in 1 day, there are 24 hours. Okay. So I would do 24 times 7 to find how many hours are in my 1 week. So I start with 7 times 4. 7 times 4 is 28. Then I do 7 times 2. 7 times 2 is 14. Plus 2 more makes 16. So there are 168 hours in 1 week. Alrighty, couple more problems. Our next one says, explain how you know that 9 minutes is less than 600 seconds. Okay, so we got to change our minutes into seconds. So 9 minutes times what? How many seconds are in 1 minute? Good, there are 60 seconds in 1 minute. So that's what I want to multiply my 9 by. So remember, I can cover up my 0 and I can do 6 times 9, which equals 54. And then I attach my 0 on the end. Oops, not minutes, we want seconds. Okay, so it makes 540 seconds, which we know is greater than or less than 600. 540 greater than or less than 600. Good, it's less than. So we can say which is less than 600 seconds. All right, our next one says draw lines to match equivalent times at intervals. It says some intervals will not have a match. So there are some that could not be used. Okay, so let's start with the first one, 1 hour. So if I think about my hour and I'll kind of look back and forth between my chart, I know that there are 24 hours in a day. So that 1 hour can't have anything to do with the days. So I have 2 day ones here down at the bottom, can't have anything to do with those. So now I have minutes and I have seconds. So I need to figure out how many minutes are in 1 hour and how many seconds are in 1 hour and see if either of those work. So how many minutes make up 1 hour? If we look back at our chart, in 1 hour, there are 60 minutes. So do I see 60 minutes? I do not. So now I cannot automatically connect it to this second one because it did tell me that some might not be used. Okay. But if you remember from our very first problem that we did right here, we found how many seconds were in 1 hour, and we said there were 3,600 seconds in an hour, or in 1 hour. So I know this 3,600 does match up with my 1 hour mark. Okay. Our next one says 2 hours. Again, I know that there are 24 hours in a day, so these 2 days cannot work. So now I just have the 2 sets of minutes. So I know that there are 60 minutes in 1 hour. So how many minutes would be in 2 hours? So I can do 2 times 60 and see if that matches either one of these minutes that I have left over. What is 2 times 60? Great, it's 120. 2 times 6 makes the 12 and attach the 0 at the end. And I see 120 minutes straight down from it. All right, our next one is 5 hours. So again, this is not 24 hours yet, so the days do not work. So we need to just see, does it work with 300 minutes? Because that's the only thing we have left besides days. So remember, there are 60 minutes in 1 hour. So we would do 5 times 60 and see if it comes out to 300. Wonderful. Yes, it does. Okay, 5 times 6 makes 30, and then you attach the extra 0. So 5 hours matches up with 300 minutes. now we have 2 days and we have 4 days. Our next one is 12 hours. I know that 12 hours is not even a day yet. It's actually half of a day, because in one day there are 24 hours, and this is not more than 24. So 12 is going to be one of those ones that's not going to have a match. So I can move over to 48. 48, okay? So 48 hours is definitely bigger than 24, but now I need to see what these 2 days are in hours. So we can do 2 times 24 over here, and then 4 times 24 over here, and see how many hours are on each of these days. So what is 2 times 24? Good. 2 times 24 would be 48. 2 times 4 makes 8, and then 2 times 2 makes a 4. So this would be 48 hours, which I see right over there. I don't even have to do this other math problem now. That 4 days is also one that is not being used. All right, our last couple problems here. Let's connect it to science. 1 day is the length of the time it takes Earth to make one complete rotation, or circle, right? Well, kind of oval. 1 year is the time it takes the Earth to revolve. A complete rotation would just be the Earth spinning around on its axis one full time. The next one is when it's doing its oval. So 1 year is the time it takes the Earth to revolve around the sun. So go around the sun in that oval. Excuse me. To make the calendar match Earth's orbit, there are leap years. Leap years add 1 extra day to the year. A leap day, which is February 29th, is added to the calendar every 4 years. So every 4 years we have a leap year. I think this year or last year was a leap year. I forget which one. All right, so 1 year is equal to 365 days, and 1 leap year is equal to 366 days because they add 1 on. So our first question asks us, how many days are there in 4 years if the 4th year is a leap year? Explain and make a table. They give us a table over here. And in our problem, it tells us that the 4th year is a leap year. So it told me in my little handy chart here that a leap year has 366 days. So I know that when I come down to this 4th year, I'm going to have to use 366. So in 1 year, there are 365 days. Now, in my 2nd year, there's also going to be 365 days. So I can add 365 plus 365, or I can multiply 365 by 2. Okay, so I would do 2 times 5 is 10. So put down my 0, carry my 1. 2 times 6 is 12, plus 1 more makes 13. And 2 times 3 is 6, plus 1 more makes 7. So in 2 years, there are 730 days. Now we're going to go on to our next one and do the same thing again. So when I do 3 times 5, I get, good, 15. Carry my 1. 3 times 6 is, good, 18, plus 1 more makes 19. And 3 times 3 is 9, plus 1 more is 10. So we have 1,095 days so far. Now, for our 4th year, we can't just multiply this by 365. we will have to add another day to that afterwards. So we can do the same method, we just gotta remember to add another day. So I'm actually gonna do it down below. 365 times 4, actually, let's just add that extra day in now. We'll do 366 like it tells us here. Okay, so 4 times 6 is, good, 24. I do 4 times 6 again, which is still 24, plus 2 more makes 26. And I have 4 times 3. Good, it's 12, plus 2 more is 14. Oops, okay, yeah, we can't do that. So now this is our answer for right now, but since we multiplied our all 4 years by 366, which is not the correct for the first 3, because Miss Hemingway did it backwards. Instead of adding just 1, we're going to have to subtract out the 3 years that were not leap years. So years 1, 2, and 3 were not leap years, so we'll need to subtract those 3 extra days out that we added on accident. So 4 minus 3 is 1, and everything else drops down. So we would have 1,461 days. Okay. So we'll put that over here. 1,461 days. Okay. And we can do we did 4 years, years times 366, which equaled our 1,464, and then subtract our 3 extra days, which would equal our 1,461. Okay, we could have also did 4 years times 365 days, and then add 1 day as well. All right, our next one says, Parker was born on February 29th, 2008. The second time he was able to celebrate his actual birthday is in 2016. How many days old will Parker be on February 29th, 2016? So first we need to look at our years. So we have 2008 and 2016. How many years are between 2008 and 2016? Or 16 minus 8. Good, 8. There are 8 years in between. So we're going to use our days in a year that we know, 365, and multiply this by 8 to start with. Okay. So we have 8 times 5. Good, is 40. Carry my 4. Then I have 8 times 6. Wonderful is 48, plus 4 more, so 48, 49, 50, 51, and 52. Carry my 5. Then I have 8 times 3. Good, 24, plus 5 more makes 29. So I have 2,920 right now. But 2008 and 2016 are both leap years, so we need to add 2 extra days for those 2 years. So we need to add 2 to this. So we would end up with 2 plus 0 is 2. 2 plus nothing is 2. 9 and 2. So there would be 2,922, or he would be 2,922 days old. Okay, he would be 2,922 days old. Alrighty, and that is it for this last lesson of math. making me so sad. All right, for your homework, the top portion is just changing from one unit of measurement to another. Your second section is doing those inequalities, so you'll have to change the bigger unit to the smaller. So years to months, days to hours, hours to minutes, years to weeks, minutes to seconds. And then say whether it is greater than, less than, or equal to. Number 14 says Jody practices a piano piece for 500 seconds. Bill practiced a piano piece for 8 minutes. Who practiced longer? Explain. So it's a very, very similar to number 5 that we did on our examples with Damien and Ken living in the apartment buildings and who lived there longer. You need to change again the bigger unit into smaller, so minutes into seconds, and then compare. So is Bill's minutes and seconds more or less than Jody's 500 seconds? And explaining can just be showing me that math that you did. All right, that's younger brother, just turned 3 years old. Fred's brother is now 30 months old. Whose brother is older? So changing their years into months and seeing who is older that way. Right? And number 1 and 2 on the back are just again converting from one form of time to another form of time. Spiral review. Number 3 says Kayla bought 9/4 of a pound of apples. What is the weight? What is the weight as a mixed number? So change your 9/4 into a mixed number, which means a whole number and fraction. So pull out the wholes. Number 4 says Judy, Jeff, and Jim each earn $5.40 raking leaves. How much did they earn together? So if I added all their money up, how much did they earn together? Number 5 says Melinda rode her bike 54/100ths of a mile to the library. She rode 4/10 mile to the store. How far did Melinda ride her bike in all? So I need to take my miles and add them up. I need to first convert my tenths into hundredths. Okay, and they want your answer written as a decimal. So after you figure out your fraction, add it all together, change it into a decimal. Number 6 says, one day the students drank 60 quarts of milk at lunch. How many pints did the students drink? So change your 60 quarts into pints. You should be able to do all of things on this page. There are none that you are skipping this time. Alrighty, guys. I will see you at 2:20 with my crazy hair. Hopefully you have some crazy hair going on too. And we will go over our last homework page of math for this school year.